I brought Willard-son.
Willardson! Not Wilson. Wilson! It really does sound like Wilson.
That was
Wilson!
your line, though. I stole it.
uh,
I brought Wilson.
wait, did they say, were they calling Leon he? I'm still trying to figure out.
They have not referred to Leon as the son or the daughter.
Okay.
Just the child.
Leon is the eldest. Okay. I'm still trying to figure out if Leon is like the baby that was thrown off the cliff or not.
Perhaps we'll find
We'll
out.
find out. I've brought.
Talking to Kinzo after all.
Okay. I've brought Willardson.
Wait, we're talking to Kinzo. How am I going to voice him?
Just dig deep. Dig deep.
Dig deep into my mucus
Yes,
infested
yes.
throat.
And we'll make you more Kinzo-y.
Kinzo and Genji could be seen in the VIP room. Kinzo was sitting back in a chair, his eyes closed as though in a troubled sleep. Master, the guest has come to see you. No. Kinzo slowly opened his eyes. Those eyes were red from crying.
Oh, Kinzo.
They regained their focus and slowly fell on Will. I am Ushiromiya Kinzo. That is not any voice I've ever given him, but it's what he's got right now.
Will.
I'm Willard. Allow me to express my condolences. So, you came here to attend Beatrice's funeral?
He sounds like he's like the head of the mafia.
I don't know what is this voice? Where did this come from? It's not what I'm trying to do.
I don't mind it though. It's kind of fitting.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll just stick with it. Just who are you? I'm no one. I have no connections with anyone. Don't think too deeply about it. You'll just get a headache.
Sure, nothing to worry about at all. I'm no one and nobody, but tell me all the secrets to your family.
Where's the gold, old man?
Tell me where the Sweet Fish River is. I ask that you choose your words a little more carefully.
Smile? What a strange guest. So, what business do you have with me? I want to ask about Beatrice. What? Kinzo's gaze grew sharp. Leon felt a bit lightheaded and wondered why this guy had to be so direct.
What is this sudden rain shower as well?
This is magic. Why do you ask? You're no one, aren't you? Why do you want to know about Beatrice? What is your purpose? Because I am no one, I can listen to your tale impartially and record it. You'll probably leave this world before too long. If you die without telling anyone anything about Beatrice, your children will adorn Beatrice with whatever tale they please, writing that into their memories. You entertain me, boy. Do you plan on writing my will for me? But that is none of your business. Beatrice is mine, alone. No matter what other people say, no one can defile our tale. What they say is of no consequence. No matter how Kraus and the others misconstrue it, it will be neither painful nor vexing to me. Willard Summer. The master is not fond of wills. Well, there's a lot of wills here.
Oh wow.
He is not the sort of man who would abandon a task, so that it might be performed after his life ends. Probably true. I thought it sounded a bit unlike you. The ability to struggle on as long as we have life, is what makes us human. To think I would give up so soon and leave behind a will? How laughably absurd.
Yes, that does sound a bit more like you. It's not your style to ask someone to write about the past, just because you think your death is drawing near.
We know how deeply you loved Beatrice Summer. You're the model most worthy of respect that any of us know, and an example for us to follow in every aspect of our lives. That sentence made no sense in my head. Please guide our wandering souls and tell us just how much you loved her, grandfather. How you were able to live through everything you faced because of her love. I only ask for you to guide us by showing us that love's strength.
You're pretty good at this.
It's your fault for being so tactless.
Boy, what do you know of Beatrice? A truly ignorant person wouldn't even be interested in learning more. The mere fact that you know Beatrice's name shows that you are neither ignorant nor unconnected.
Good point. The Beatrice I know of is the woman you loved. The one you met before the mansion on Rokenjima was even built. However, she probably departed from this world, leaving behind a daughter. And that's the girl who was raised in Kuwadorian.
Oh.
Willard-sama. There is no building known as Kuwadorian on Rokenjima.
That name, Kuwadorian, you mentioned it when we were talking with Aunt Rosa too. What in the world does it mean?
You should have an idea by now. It's the name of the hidden mansion deep in the forest where his mistress's daughter lived.
Interesting. So you actually know the name of Kuwadorian. Continue, you have sparked my interest.
Kinzo shrugged and grinned. The one living in Kuwadorian was probably Beatrice's daughter. However, it seems that you, at least, didn't think of her that way.
Oh ho. Then how did I think of her?
When Ishiremi Rosa went to Kuwadorian, Beatrice told her a little about herself. In that conversation, she referred to you as Kinzo. It was the same when she spoke to you directly. Though she said that she thought of you as a father, she didn't call you father. She either chose not to call you that, or she wasn't allowed to call you that. That can only mean one thing.
This is literally Chick Beatrice and Butler.
At the start of that episode, I was like, can you see any parallels here? But then again, you haven't read this episode, so.
And what might that be?
Reincarnation. You didn't think of your daughter as a child Beatrice left behind. You believed that the dead Beatrice had revived into a new body. Genji, once in the past you spoke in front of Natsuhi and several other family members, stating that there never was a child between Kinzo and Beatrice. I have no memory of saying this. Of course, this game's Genji's probably wouldn't remember that. However, near the end of the first game, when the survivors had all gathered in Kinzo's study, Genji was asked whether Kinzo and Beatrice ever had a child together, and he denied it, saying, "I have not heard anything like that." That may have been a lie, but in a way, it was a model answer for one of Kinzo's confidants. After all, in Kinzo's eyes, she wasn't a daughter, but Beatrice reborn.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about, but I will not let you slander the family head.
This isn't slander, it's reasoning. However, I understand the heart. In your eyes, Beatrice was the woman you loved most. She remained that way even after death, for all eternity, and without fading in the slightest. I doubt you thought of her as Beatrice reborn at that moment of her birth. However, it wouldn't be strange if you slowly began to wonder whether that child, whose blue eyes and beautiful blonde hair reminded you of a younger Beatrice, might actually be Beatrice reborn. Master, shall I drag this rude child out? Genji asked Kinzo. For a while, Kinzo hung his head in silence, as though remembering something from his own past. Your daughter grew to be beautiful and nearly identical to her mother. You must have been ecstatic. However, I doubt you'd be completely satisfied by that alone. After all, though she was Beatrice reborn to you, she didn't think of herself that way.
How can you know that?
Whenever she was called Beatrice, she got this feeling she couldn't shake away, a feeling like something was out of place. People never feel anything out of place about the name they're given at the time of their birth. However, she did have that feeling. That must mean she was aware that the name Beatrice wasn't hers. In Kuwadorian, she asked both Kinzo and Rosa about who she was.
Who am I? Everyone calls me Beatrice. And that does indeed seem to be the name of a great witch, as you say. But that isn't me. I cannot use any magic. I simply have the soul of that witch sealed inside my body.
Her memory would have returned eventually. She must truly have been reborn, Beatrice reborn. Her memory was coming back bit by bit. My magical ceremonies were helping her regain her memories one little bit at a time.
Head-sama.
There's no need to be surprised. If you line up the information in all the games so far, this is the obvious answer you get. The high-level Beatrice talked about this. By metaphor, she said that Kinzo refused to let the witch's soul escape even after death, and instead caught it and locked it up in a body of flesh. She also said that her power and memory had been sealed. If you match that interpretation of hers to this theory, it all makes sense. Willard-sama, thanks to the powerful magic ceremonies, the master gained a reborn child of the dead Beatrice-sama. That cannot be denied. I won't deny the stalk, and I don't intend to doubt the depths of Kinzo's love for this woman called Beatrice. How a man shows his affection for a child who's the only living reminder of her mother is no one's business. If she grew to look more and more like Beatrice, and Kinzo's love gave rise to a new special emotion, I find that a very human reaction.
You think you can understand my love?
Oh, my throat. I'm not qualified to understand it. However, I'm also not qualified to deny it.
Oh, Beatrice, please forgive me.
Kinzo sobbed quietly for a while, wiping away his tears. Because of love, he believed she was Beatrice reborn, and raised her that way. However, somewhere in his heart, he might have felt pangs of conscience, telling him that he might be forcing his emotions on someone who wasn't really Beatrice. Then, the Beatrice of Kuwadorian had an unexpected guest, Rosa. That woman simply couldn't believe that she was the Beatrice Kinzo desired. She couldn't stand the fact that she didn't understand who she was, and she wanted to escape to the outside world. Get wrecked.
Do you think she did it on purpose?
Beatrice? Nah, I don't think so.
So it really
Then
was
she
just
fell from
an
the cliff.
accident.
And died. Genji handled that death, which couldn't become public knowledge, very quietly. Funerals aren't for the dead. They exist so that those who are alive can sever their ties with the dead. You could never do that. That's why it festered within you.
Beatrice! Ooh!
Grandfather!
You lost your mistress's daughter. No, you lost Beatrice twice. Unable to let that sorrow show on the outside, you kept it locked up in your heart. And it eventually festered and turned to madness. That's what spurred on your abnormally strong interest in the occult in your later years.
Oh, my throat! Beatrice! Why? Why did you leave me twice?
Well, smile.
That beautiful hair. Those eyes. Why did you die in my arms not once, but twice? Is that how much you... Whoa.
Help! Help!
Oh.
Do you want me to narrate for a little bit?
No, it's fine.
You sure?
It's just Kinzo and like a tiny bit of Will. By now, Kinzo wasn't even trying to suppress his sobs. He sometimes scratched at his head in anguish, sometimes faced the heavens like an opera singer. Kinzo yelled over and over again, repeating Beatrice's name.
Beatrice!
At that moment, there was a quiet sound of a door closing. When they turned around, she was already there.
That's my turn.
Kumasawa had appeared.
If they already know that much, perhaps we can tell them the rest.
Though, if they... That's not Will. Though, if they know that much, I don't believe there is anything more to tell.
No, we should tell them. As a woman, I've always thought that the head of Kuwadorian's Beatrice is a story that should be told. And now someone has appeared who is worthy to hear it. I believe that now is the time to tell all without holding back.
Kumasawa-san, do you know something? About Beatrice?
Of course she does. In the fourth game, we have testimony from the ferryboat captain saying that Kumasawa went in and out of Kuwadorian. I'd be willing to bet that Kumasawa had different work shifts at the mansion and Kuwadorian. There was a young girl to be taken care of. Kumasawa, with her long experience in taking care of children, must have been of immense value.
That is correct. You might even call me her wet nurse.
No way. I can't believe it. So everything Will-san is saying is the truth.
Yes, it is a fact. A secret mansion was constructed on the opposite side of the island for Beatrice Summer. Kuwadorian's existence is truth.
Say it in red.
I don't know when Kinzo married his official wife, but at that time he already had an enormous store of wealth and had brought Rikkenjima whole. He then built 2 mansions and set up 2 separate lives. Kinzo's children had also been aware of Kinzo's clandestine eccentricities at the time. It probably hadn't been easy to maintain 2 separate lives. Moreover, Kinzo's wife had been suspicious and had sniffed around all the time.
Where is she? Where is she? I can smell her. I can smell Beatrice.
I can smell Beatrice.
The master stayed in Kuatorian as much as time allowed. He would sometimes pretend to go on a business trip and stay there for several days, treasuring the time he spent with Beatrice Summer. It was not a father-daughter relationship. You could sometimes catch a glimpse of his great love for the dead Beatrice Summer, and it was a heartwarming thing. I don't know, Kumasawa, it sounds a bit icky to me.
The way you say it makes it sound like he sometimes treated her as a substitute for the dead Beatrice.
Oh, ho, ho, ho. If it sounded that way, my apologies. Beatrice Summer probably accepted her father's love. However, I will not deny that she was sometimes forced to bear a love she didn't understand.
Kumasawa's tone made it sound as though she was scolding Kinzo. As a mother who had raised many kids, Kumasawa had probably spotted that Kinzo's love was sometimes misplaced. However, the more she grew to look like her mother, the more distorted and twisted Kinzo's heart became. Because of his deep love, it grew very, very twisted.
You are right to scold me, my friend. I understand. My love is eternal and undying. However, I must acknowledge that I poured that affection onto the wrong person.
Grandfather, wait, you don't mean...
Leon Summer, all humans in this world are tied to each other. Even if they do not notice, there is always some sort of tie. Those ties wrap around people and bring them together.
No way. Grandfather.
Just as Kinzo had done, Leon also wiped away tears and stared down at the floor. Apparently the truth had been too much of a shock for the young successor to handle.
Is this basically acknowledging that Kinzo had a romantic relationship with his daughter?
If that's what you're getting out of this, then yes.
Well, I wasn't sure.
This is literally what they've been saying.
And that's why he's shocked, right?
Who's shocked?
Leon.
Leon, yeah. This is like, so only the servants know about this, and Kinzo. And I guess Will pieced it together.
It's icky. Master.
I mean, the hints have been there.
Yeah, I know. But it's now like Beatrice, daughter confirmed.
Yeah, no, it's just, yeah.
Master, the time to speak has arrived, has it not?
I see. So that time has come, my friend.
Unless you tell us, none of the truth will become clear. Master, I believe they may have the qualifications and the right to know.
Because we got the detective! Ooh, petals.
I know. Perhaps on this day of my fickle funeral, Beatrice in heaven has given me a chance to atone. Forgive me for not telling you this before now.
After taking a deep breath, Kinzo finally lowered the hands that had been covering his face, and looked at Will and Leon with those red eyes.
Grandfather.
You listen too, Leon. Guessed. Willard, was it?
Yeah,
Don't tell me Leon is the daughter of other Beatrice.
I thank you for giving me a chance to speak the truth while I am still able. You must surely be a messenger from heaven sent by Beatrice. You have my gratitude.
Beatrice isn't the one you have to thank. It was just a witch. Well, I guess they're both witches.
I do not care who it was. I have been given a second chance. That is enough. Thank you, Willard.
Kinzo slowly stood up and held out his right hand. He was offering to shake hands. It must have been Kinzo's way of expressing his gratitude. Will responded. Then the two hands gripped each other tightly in silence. When they did, a bright light poured out from the gap between the two hands. My voice was saved. Will felt as though something the size of a grain had burned itself into his palm. It was the power that Bernd Castell had given him. The light grew brighter and brighter. However, it seemed that Kinzo and the others couldn't see it.
Now I will speak.
I met Beatrice. Beatrice Castiglione, just before the end of the war.
Wait. What happened to Kinzo's
She
voice?
came from across the sea.
This is Kinzo speaking.
It was Kinzo speaking.
Yeah, why are you speaking like that? Wait, is it going to turn into Battler? Is it time-traveling Battler? Reincarnated Battler? Oh.
Are you Kinzo?
It's how grandfather looked in the past. I've seen photos. What on earth?
It's the theater-going power that Bernd Castell gave me. Don't try to understand.
I'll just get a headache.
You're getting the hang of this. At one time, Genji told Battler that he looked like Kinzo in his youth. Sure enough, though the young Kinzo wasn't exactly the same as Battler, they looked very similar. Allow me to introduce myself again. I am Ushirimiya Kinzo.
Grandfather.
Even the voice seemed to resemble Battler's somehow. Clearly, Battler had inherited Kinzo's blood more thickly than any other. I had no desire to succeed the Ushirimiya family headship. My being chosen as the head was nothing more than a prank of fate. In the Great Kanto earthquake, those in charge passed away, and you were selected from the branch families.
Sorry, I've got a little lag. That's correct. After all, grandfather was wise despite his youth, and he already possessed a dignity fitting for the headship.
Ridiculous. those greedy elders kept looking out for their own personal interests and couldn't decide on a new head at all. It was as foolish as arguing about who the new captain should be on a sinking ship. So, since you had no connections with anyone in the main family, you were selected right out of the blue. It's all because of my toes. If only I'd had one less toe on each foot, my life may have turned out quite differently.
What does toes? Wait, what? They went over this right at the beginning, and I can't remember.
Polydactyly.
Like, I know he had
6 toes.
Yeah, but what did the previous leaders have 6 toes?
It's just like a running superstition that having an extra appendage, I guess, meant good luck.
Prosperity.
Yeah, this says it right here. In the Ushirimiya family, polydactyly was seen as a mark of good fortune. After all, many of the great ones in their family history had possessed it. It was all very pathetic. The elders didn't care whom they dragged in, as long as it wouldn't benefit anyone. Oh, as long as it wouldn't benefit any one of them in particular. So, they just happened to hear that someone in one of the branch families had 6 toes, and decided that would do well enough. Precisely. The elders didn't care what sort of novice became the next head, as long as they could make him their puppet. In fact, the more this person was ignorant of leadership, the better it would be for them.
Grandfather. Leon's becoming more masculine as we go on.
Leon, it is quite different in your case. You will be the one who inherits everything I have. That is the fate you were granted on the day of your birth. That is why I gave you that silver ring and raised you so strictly. You are quite different from me. You are already a splendid successor of whom no one can be ashamed.
Yes, sir.
A puppet for a head. I doubt that could have been easy. As he pondered about where to begin, Kinzo laughed bitterly. It would probably bring back painful memories, no matter where he started from. It lasted for so long, that span of grey days. That dizzying stretch of time I spent dead, like moss growing on a rock. I became the rope in the tug-of-war between the elders, who thought of nothing but their own profit. And I probably could have snapped at any moment. However, people are far more resilient than one would think. Though I spent so many days as though I had been killed, I was not killed. So I was forced to search for death on my own. Before I realized it, I had reached an age at which the young would laugh at me if I tried to call myself young. That dizzyingly long stretch of grey was left completely empty. It lasted for a full 20 years. In 20 years, a person can be born, find a purpose, and even become their own man with their own place in the world. In short, if one truly becomes a human only when they have become a working adult, then I spent a period of time long enough to create a human, doing nothing but playing the part of those greedy elders' puppet. Ironically, though that time aged my body, it did not age my mind. My mind alone was still as young as it had been during those rich, happy days before I was summoned to Odawara, and yet my body alone grew older and older. Eventually, the vast gap between the two reached almost incomprehensible levels. So, I could hardly believe that worn-out man in the mirror was really me.
Can you learn this song as well? Or transcribe it? Or transcribe it and then give it to me?
We'll see. No, it really wasn't me. The head of the Ushirimiya family was just a name. It had no power. It didn't require that I have any independence. There was no need for me to get involved with anything. I was just a doll sitting there on the doll rack, gathering dust. I remember nothing but lazily flipping through Western books I liked, locking myself up inside my own world, doing nothing but playing with roses and drinking terrible drinks. And it lasted for a full 20 years. Before I knew it, I suddenly had a wife I did not know. It wasn't any wife I had chosen. It was the daughter of some noble family that the elders had chosen and forced on me for their own reasons. But that did not matter to me. I did not love my wife, but neither did I dislike her. I just didn't care. I fathered a few children, but that wasn't out of love for my wife. They were just born before I knew it. That's all there was to it. None of it mattered. No, that's not quite right. Everything was decided by someone other than me, and I simply obeyed. That was the job of the Umineko family head. Yes, on some level, I did feel as though I was being slowly and quietly killed.
Sorry, I'm just waiting for the plane to go past. So you can cut it out. I can't believe it. To think that you, the one who had been praised for being such a bold and wise ruler, lived life like that for so long. I agree, Leon. It does sound very out of character to what we've been told.
It's too relatable. Leon, there is nothing so long and faint as a life you do not live for yourself. And yet, it slides on by in the blink of an eye. Do not forget this.
A life you live for yourself?
Living means having your own will. Your own will?
There's a lot of wills.
You probably were dead during that time. Precisely. I wanted to live. No, I wanted to die. How can a puppet die?
By cutting the strings.
Correct. That would be death, and it would also be life. Since it would mean being free. Before I realized it, trouble was brewing in the world. World War II, the Pacific War. Japan had extended their war fronts too far to the east and west, and the tide of war was changing. Thanks to the influence of the elders, I was able to avoid conscription. Of course, this was not out of compassion for me. It was because I was their precious puppet. So the war never really felt that close to me. However, when I personally decided to abandon their protection, it was very easy. At that time, the Umineko family had almost completely collapsed, and since the elders had apparently gathered enough of the scraps to last them the rest of their lives, they seemed to care little for what I did, now that they no longer had any use for me. So I realized that I had finally found my time to die. One by one, I cut the threads I was hanging from, and began to search for a place to end my life. So, you searched for death on the battlefield? I thought that if I was going to die anyway, I should try to be of some use to my country. No, that's a lie. I probably just lacked the willpower to end my own life. War was a suitable excuse for death.
I heard that grandfather had knowledge necessary for public works, projects, and construction. So he was tasked with setting up facilities for the Navy construction team.
And what a foolish mistake that was. If only I had just said that I had no useful skills, I could have been sent to the dangerous front lines right away. So you didn't need to go to the front lines. Some of the others were overjoyed at their luck. It was the opposite for me. I had only wanted to get drunk on the liquor known as dying for the sake of one's country. The US planes did nothing but cut across the skies of that forgotten island. They didn't have even a bullets to spare for me, much less a bomb.
Is this the time you met Beatrice, grandfather?
Correct. She came to me from the sea. Where did you meet her? You mentioned an island. Yes, this island. That's where she arrived. So, you met here on Rekenjima.
What's going on? I heard that Rekenjima was uninhabited until you boarded, grandfather. I never knew there was a Japanese military base here.
Ah, yes, you could hardly call that a military base. It was just a cave. I was one of the guards of that cave. (1944). Due to the honorable defeats at Saipan, and Guam,
Saipan?
Japan's absolute national defense zone strategy was in shambles. Where had the gallantry shown at Pearl Harbor gone? The old attackers were now the ones on the defensive. At that time, it was said that the last trump card for the Japanese military was a type of manned torpedo known as the Kaiten. It was said that these ultimate weapons, packed with 1.55 tons of explosives, were capable of sinking any kind of warship with a single blast. To strengthen homeland defense, the Navy drafted a plan to build a string of hidden bases from Hachijo Island to Yokosuka, all to house submarines loaded with Kaiten torpedoes.
I knew that there was a Kaiten base constructed on Hachijo Island. But was there actually one on Rekenjima too?
What fool decided it would be a good idea to plant a base on this desolate island? To better preserve its secrecy? Ridiculous. I could never understand what the higher-ups were thinking, and I didn't particularly want to. The Kaiten, which could finish off a large warship with a single strike, truly was an ultimate weapon. It was hoped that the presence of submarines capable of loading these weapons in the waters just off of Japan would allow for a powerful sea ambush as a final line of defense. So, to aid in the establishment of a base with absolute secrecy, the uninhabited island Rekenjima was raised as a possible candidate. An investigation of the island resulted in the discovery of a large cave in the cliffs, and this was apparently deemed to be a suitable location for a submarine base. So, you were tasked with aiding in the establishment of that base? Establishment? Certainly, if you can call digging out a cave establishment. Not only that, the base was abandoned before its completion.
Why?
Because at the time, Japan no longer had any submarines large enough to transport a Kaiten torpedo. How truly laughable. What's the point in having a submarine base if there aren't any submarines left? If there's one thing that never changes, it's politicians and their meaningless projects. The base on Hachijo Island was outfitted with Kaiten torpedoes and became a base for direct attacks, but Rekenjima was never supplied with any. Furthermore, the construction was eventually suspended, and a minimum number of men were stationed on the island, waiting for orders from above that never came. Could the fact that it was a hidden base actually have sealed our fate? The higher-ups had already completely forgotten about this useless and pointless cavern. We were nothing more than guards for a mere cave. We spent our days farming, fishing, and playing with the dirt, all the while gazing up at the American formations flying past. Some of our group were relieved at the prospects of the war ending before anyone remembered we were here, and before any of us had to face a real battle. Of course, it was the opposite for me. I hoped and hoped for the American troops to advance and kill me as soon as possible. Those days were empty and blank. Let us go back. Back to the turning point in my life and my fate. The time that Ushiomi Akinzo finally became truly alive. Pretty.
Wait, that's it?
Yep. That's it. The past of Ishirimiya Kinzo.
We didn't get to meet Beatrice, though. The Beatrice from the island.
Maybe we will.
Beatrice!